2022. Let the record reflect we do have a quorum. Member Luger, Member Schilling, Member Yeager, and Member Iverson are present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilmember Schilling.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first on our agenda is open forum. Open forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address the City Council on items that are on or not on the current agenda. Items requiring council action may be deferred to staff or boards and commissions for research and future council agendas if appropriate. You will be limited to 3 minutes, and we ask that you conduct yourself in a professional, courteous manner and refrain from the use of profanity. Failure to abide by this policy may result in the loss of your privilege to speak. Do we have anybody here tonight which would like to come up to the podium? Please come on up and state your name.
Michael Johnson.
All right.
Address to you for the record, please.
Sure. It's 27011 Forley Avenue.
All right, great, thank you.
All right. So, on August 20th, I found a corn-filled plastic baggie in my driveway with this printed flyer inside. I'm sure some of you have seen this by now.
Can I see? I have not seen
Sure.
that. Can I? Thank you. Okay, thank you.
So, some of the terminology used inside isn't exactly clear to people who aren't really into politics. I am a little bit, so I immediately knew what it was. But if the German printed on the back didn't give it away, it is a white supremacist, neo-Nazi conspiracy theory. And they dumped hundreds, or possibly even thousands of these on our town. Just, yeah. It's not so great. I hope everyone here can agree that this is ridiculous, unacceptable, and anyone who pushes this extremist ideology is not welcome in Wyoming. I've done my research and found that the group who were responsible for this are based in South Dakota. They are not part of our community. They might not even be Minnesotan. So, unfortunately, this is an isolated event. There's evidence of other hate groups operating in the county and Minnesota at large, just to name a few places who had similar things happen to them. Minneapolis, St. Paul, St. Louis Park, Hopkins, Edina, North Oaks, New Brighton, College Grove, Arden Hills, Woodbury, Stillwater, Forest Lake, and Lindstrom. It's worth noting Lindstrom in particular, because this is where 4 people were arrested for their part in the January 6th insurrection not that long ago. And as much as I wish extremism was a far-off problem, it's not. It's right here in our own cities. The frequency of these propaganda dumps has been rising over the years, and this may not be the last time our neighbors have to deal with this sort of thing. So if it happens again, I'd rather our community leaves no room for doubt on where we stand, so that everyone can feel safe in their own homes. That's why I'm asking the council, the Wyoming Police, and Mayor Iverson to denounce this hateful ideology and send a clear message that we don't stand for this.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. The rest of the group here, are you here for the same reason? Yeah, and do you live on the same street? I did not receive that on my street. So do you live in different parts of Wyoming? And this also happened during Stomp Out Suicide as well,
Yes.
that event?
It happened on the same day, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Likely in the early hours of the morning.
Okay. Chief Bauer, what are we
Sure.
doing about this?
I can speak a little bit to this. You know, And what was your last name, sir? I'm sorry.
Johnson.
Johnson, got it. Thank you for bringing it forward, Mr. Johnson. As you mentioned, this doesn't represent the values and the beliefs of our Wyoming community. As you mentioned, this is something that is happening across the metro area, specifically, like you mentioned, Stillwater, Lino Lakes, Woodbury, Cottage Grove all had the same thing happen within a short window of time. So we don't believe that it is local residents that are doing this. Something to consider is that where this falls criminally might not be exactly where you may hope or where we'd hope as a community.
I know there's only so much we can legally do about it. Just more as a community, we can, understand that this is a problem and have solidarity with one another.
Yes. So that would fall, where it follows is littering, essentially, which is a misdemeanor citable offense. And especially if they're coming in from out of state. I don't believe this had anything to do with the
Right.
it's not about suicide walk. It just happened to coincide. I would guess they had no idea that this was happening at the same time. As we've looked into this, there's a balance, and these are things that, City Administrator Mr. Linwood and I discussed afterwards. It's where do you provide voice to this? And if you look at the social media content from other cities and other areas that did post about it, some of it wasn't all that favorable, honestly, and it does generate more and more negative discussion. That there's a balance there, and it's where do we want to bring voice to this issue versus providing a voice to this group that people are asking more and more for. What was the messaging? What is and we're not going to
And that
post
should never be messaged. No,
You know what I
we
mean?
should not be promoting them in any capacity. No.
So that's that balance of where do we want to continue to generate energy around this versus what taking a stand on it and what's our position on it. When the officers did respond out there, they did have people check the ring cameras to see if there's any license plates. Sounds like it was early 4, 5, 6 in the morning, prior that time frame. They did cover a good portion of the city with these. We didn't have anybody that had video that they had reported. And again, if we asked for the video on social media or these venues, what was the messaging? It creates this conversation that can be
They can be promoting them. And that's
and so that's that balance of how far do we want to push this for a citable misdemeanor versus the messaging that it is promoting. So at this point with the other cities that also we're looking into it, I don't know that we had anybody that was I don't have any information that there was suspects that we identified at this point. And again, here's your citation and go on your way. So it's a balance of where do we want to go with that. So I don't know if that answers some of your questions.
I kind of understood that, and I understand it's a complex issue. How you tackle this, I just thought it would be worth bringing up.
No, well,
No, that's worth bringing
Mr.
up.
Johnson, really appreciate you bringing that up. And Mr. Linwood, if we can, as a council, have a conversation, can we do that closed door at another time, Mr. Lunan, to really have a discussion on how we want to handle this and what we want to say, or does it need to be open and in public?
I would have to review if there would be an exception to the open meeting law. My instinct says that it would be an open conversation.
Okay.
And something that myself and Mr. Linwood and Mr. Sachs, we can take a look at potential options or avenues to council. Obviously, while the speech is heinous, we are dealing with a speech question here, and we have to look at as a government how we're going to have those discussions and what actions we can take on a legal front to make sure that the city is set before. But yeah, the conversation can be had.
Yeah, we can denounce it, but I want to make sure if that's what I'm hoping that's what we do, but I want the correct verbiage in there, right? There needs to be some verbiage in there to Mr. Johnson's point, we don't need more coming here, so we have to be very careful in what we say, and any hate at all is not welcome here. And I've lived here a long time, and to see this in my community actually breaks my heart. So if we can somehow find a discussion point and how we can go about this to just let people know we're not about hate in our city. Does that work for council?
Sure.
Yeah.
I will say that my daughter and her nephews, or my nephews rather, found scores of the literature as they were going through the Stomp Out Suicide 5K and disposed of what they found. I wonder if it's a coincidence, and I wonder if there was a very pointed, if it was purposeful to do it that morning, which I think is also makes it somehow even more reprehensible than it already was. To say that I was disgusted and appalled is an understatement. Hate has no place in Wyoming, and I'm comfortable denouncing it either individually or as a council, because
Thank
it's
you.
just unacceptable.
It's unacceptable.
Just terrible.
If it's, for what it's worth, I live on the Stop Out Suicide route. There wasn't that, and I get up very early in the morning, and I was out early in the morning. There wasn't that many along my stretch of the route.
I saw how many
Okay.
that my own family collected, and this was around 2, and then we actually collected more on our way back to the car and then into my
Right.
neighborhood, because I also live on Fort Lee.
Yes.
But
So,
what I'm just saying, for what it's worth, when I got up and I went out early in the morning,
mhm.
I didn't see a whole heck of a lot on my street.
And that's,
I saw some.
I think
I mean,
one is too many.
I had, I just took mine and flipped and saw the back. Yeah, that's, just quietly put it in the trash,
Yep.
because don't want to call attention to that kind of speech. But for what it's worth, didn't see all that many, so just saying.
I think one is too many.
Member Schilling.
I'd just like to say also, I actually had a get-together at my house. I was the one that found it, my wife and I, very disgusted with it. It went immediately into my trash, and along with all my neighbors, I kind of walked around and said, "You get this?" And we basically threw it away. So, wasn't happy about it, because I've lived here for several years, and it's not who we are, it's not what we represent. So denouncing it is something that's very easy to do. It was disgusting, and frankly, I don't like seeing that in my community at all. I have kids that we've raised here, and at some point I'm gonna have grandkids as well, and this is our home. So don't welcome any of that.
Mr. Johnson, thank you for coming here tonight, and you spoke very well on it. Really appreciate that. And it's not easy, right? No, it's not. So really appreciate that. And council, I hope we'll have a little more discussion regarding this. And I just hope we don't ever see it again.
Me too.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Would anybody else like to come up for open forum? No? All right. All right, we're going to move on to approval of minutes. Number 1, consider approving the minutes of the regular meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council for August 16th, 2022. Are there any questions or comments? If there are none, we need a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Schilling. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Luger. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 2, consider approving the minutes of the budget work session meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council for August 24th, 2022. If there are no questions or comments, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Member Luger. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Schilling. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 3, to consider Resolution 22-09-73, a resolution to vacate the public right-of-way at 5690 277th Street. Do we want to go right away into, do you want a discussion first, or do we want to go into public
I think
hearing?
we'll, if we could allow Mr. Sachs to just do a brief staff report on it, and then we'll open the public hearing for any
Sure.
public comment, and then we also have the applicant here as well, so if council has any questions for that individual.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. So at the August 3rd meeting, council passed a resolution setting this public hearing for this proposed vacation. This vacation is needed. I put the parcel in question up on the screen here. So this vacation is needed because there's that southeast corner of the applicant's parcel that's in the right-of-way from kind of just digging. It used to be, or was used for like a temporary turnaround. And so the applicant's asking for that right-of-way to be vacated so that little corner can be within his parcel. Staff reviewed his application submitted by Jesse McMonigal, and he is here tonight. And staff is recommending the approval of the vacation of this public right-of-way. And with that, we can open the public hearing.
All right, we need a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion by Member Schilling. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Luger. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are in open session. Is there anybody here tonight that would like to speak on the vacate property? No? right, applicant, would you like to say anything? We're, because nobody's opposing it, might as well, right? All right, we need a motion to go back into public session, please.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, so approved. All right, so do we have questions? I'm gonna start with council. Do we have questions regarding resolution 220973? We'll start with member Luker.
I have no questions.
Member Schilling?
No questions, this is cut and dry.
Member Yeager?
All right, so you said that was a turnaround, because that's kind of an odd type of public right-of-way. Why was it that way in the first place?
So I believe I had spoken with Mr. Weck, and there used to maybe be like a cul-de-sac or something, but that was kind of the purpose it served, or was going to serve at one point in time, a long time ago. That was Mr. Weck's understanding.
Essentially that it was a turnaround for the end of the development, then the development continued on and the road was continued. So that's
Oh.
essentially was a temporary turnaround, and then some of these temporary turnarounds, there are other ones within the city that just haven't been cleaned up after they
Okay.
were, after the roads were added onto for the new addition of the development.
Okay, cool, thank you.
All right, I'll make the motion for resolution 22-0973, a resolution to vacate the public right-of-way at 5690 277th Street. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by member Luker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved.
Thank you.
Consent agenda, number 4, 5, and 6. Does anybody wish to pull an item from the consent agenda? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve items 4, 5, and 6?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by member Luker. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by member Schilling. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Acknowledgement and receipts. Acknowledgement receipts of reports of officer boards, commissions, and department heads. Number 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 on our agenda. Does anybody wish to pull an item for further discussion? Nope, then we'll move on to old business, number 13, to consider the donation and design of a sign for the city of Wyoming. Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. At the August 16th city council meeting, there was discussion on this proposal that came from Wyoming resident Pat Rylander, who offered to purchase and donate the sign. It's included in your packet. We looked at it at the last meeting. She wanted on the south side of the library. And it was kind of determined at that meeting that it would have been more of a county issue since they own the building, and members from the library said, maybe it didn't fit the architectural designs that they had planned for that building. So the item was eventually tabled, and city staff were directed to work with Ms. Rylander on some potential options for the sign. Well, since that meeting, Ms. Rylander decided to pursue some other options, and she has been working with city staff for permitting, and Wyoming Drug has graciously offered to place it on their buildings. So at this point, it's kind of going to a private entity and is no longer really a city issue. So staff would just recommend that this item can essentially just kind of be disregarded. I'll stand for any questions.
I don't have any questions. I have a statement. I am very sad to see, first of all, I want to thank Pat Rylander. I want to thank Mr. Garrison. For him, Mr. Garrison's been in our community a long time, Ms. Rylander the same. And I think that I'm happy that design, because I thought it was really great. It looked wonderful. It reminded us of the city and the history of our city. So I'm happy that Mr. Garrison is putting it on his building. I am sad with that it's not going on the library. I am very sad that I'll probably make the county a little upset with this, but I'm sad that they would have to have the final approval on something that is in our city, and we know our residents. So it would have looked really nice on that. So just not happy for having to go to the county for something that is ours, and that we help take care of. So with that, again, a huge thank you to Mr. Garrison and to Pat Rylander, because when it does get up, it's going to look absolutely beautiful. With that, I will start with Member Yeager with any questions or comments.
Oh, no, great I think it's a great compromise.
Okay, Member Schilling?
I have no questions.
Okay, Member Luker?
I have no questions.
All right, so we just need to say we're done with it? There's no formal motion we need to make?
Nothing necessary at this time.
Okay, I'll be reaching out to Pat and Mr. Garrison too, so. All right. Number 14, to consider resolution 220975, a resolution approving a site plan review application to demolish the existing and construct a new Dairy Queen restaurant at 5111 East Viking Boulevard, property ID number 21.00020. Mr. Linwood, are you starting this, or?
I will be starting this,
Okay.
yes. Mr. Weck is
Okay.
absent tonight, so I'll be handling this item. Tonight, council, you have back in front of you a request that you deliberated on at their August 3rd, 2022 meeting in regards for a site plan approval and conditional use permit for a new Dairy Queen located in a current location. It would be essentially a demolition and a reconstruction of the building. The applicant has asked to be have this reviewed again on the council agenda tonight. When this was approved last time, the council took action based on the recommendation in the city code in regards to the architectural standards. The materials on the building were below the 65% ordinance requirement for class 1 materials, but had been increased compared to their original submittal. We have given you their newest submittal in the packet tonight, which I believe now they're at approximately 52% of those standards, and then on those materials. The conditions that were approved last time, the resolutions that you have in front of you are essentially the same as they were last time, with the two changes is that you have two different resolutions tonight in front of you. The council has already taken action on this, so you could, your options tonight would be to take no action on this and leave it to be approved as it was when you reviewed it here on August 3rd. The other resolutions that you're seeing tonight for both the site plan and the CUP is the only changes reflected are in regards to those materials. The first A resolution of those, both for the site plan and CUP, would be approve the building as seen tonight and has been presented by the applicant, Dairy Queen and 14 Foods. So that would be the resolutions if you were just leave it as it is shown on this site plan that they're showing. The second set of resolutions that you were given updates on today originally did not have from the staff report the correct amount. The only thing differing from that resolution would be that the front face of the building would be required to be at the standards of the city in regards to that 65% of materials, not the entirety of the building, but just the front facing building to try to have that meeting our ordinance the best it can. So those are the two options that you're presented tonight. Like I said, you can do nothing. You can approve as the Dairy Queen has requested in these drawings, or we have one other option for the council, and that would be to just hold it to that front facade to that standard on the architectural standards. So with that, I can certainly stand for any questions or any other ideas that council may have regarding this item.
And we do have the applicants here.
We do, and just to speak really quickly, the only other thing I will say, and that maybe with the applicants would, if they could say why they would be interested in doing this. I think it sounds like in regards this is somewhat of their brand standards and why they're submitting the request tonight, that this is what they do for most of the Dairy Queens, but they can probably articulate that better than I can. So I don't know if Mayor, I don't know if the applicants would like to say something.
Would you
on their
guys
behalf.
like to come up and just state your case for the difference? Come on up and speak. Okay. Both of you can come too. It's not as scary when there's two in front of all of us, right? So.
Hi, Justin Krause with 14 Foods.
Nick Johnson with 14 Foods.
This design that we were, did we end up having pictures from Ottawa that we sent over?
I believe Mr. Weck, yes, in regards to the one of your other stores, yes.
Yeah, okay. I was hoping that those were here, but what we were able to do is we were able to do the wainscoting that we got the brick material on the bottom portion of the building. It becomes a brand imaging with a new design. The changes that we did from last time that we were here is underneath that top blade, there's a metal piece that goes on the bottom part of it. They kind of, the gray part that just comes below. And then there's the blade that comes down the vertical side of the building. And then also on the drive-through side, they extended the horizontal blade all the way through the drive-through. And so that's what it got from 44 to 52. And this is per Dairy Queen for design requirements is about as far as this is as far as I can get them to go.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, I know all about brand standard, I'm in marketing, get it. What would happen if you went to, say, a different city that has, I was recently in Hilton Head and everything is exactly the same. There is no deviating from anything. What would you do if that was the case?
Right now, with the current building, they would say we're gonna wait. And they just say that until, you know, our old, so this is called next gen building. Our old version was 2.0 version. They were kind of the same way where they said no to it for the first 5, 6, 7 years. And then eventually they said, you know, okay, we'll loosen it up because we're going to this next design anyways. It would be kind of a wait and see, I guess, is for what corporate Dairy Queen would do for approval on it.
Okay.
So like right now, if you went to Hilton Head, they just wouldn't approve it right now.
Okay, and I know that there's a possibility of another plot or pad, whatever you call it, onto that building, right? So would that become available? How would you do that? Because obviously you wouldn't be tearing down the building then?
Yeah, so if we wouldn't get this approved, we would just redesign or remodel our existing building.
Mhm.
And then potentially we'd look to, you know, that front where the gas station pumps were and everything.
Yeah.
We would, like, there's a sign up there today.
Yeah.
Before
Yeah.
we've had a few coffee users that have looked at it, and we would just probably look to redesign or remodel our existing building.
Yeah.
And then try to lease or sell off a portion of that fund for additional use.
And do you think if we were not to approve it, leaving it the way it is, how much harder will it be to either lease or sell that potential pad that you have there? Because I think a nice looking building is going to bring in some newer businesses or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Is kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I think a lot of it would be the repurposing of the existing building and how you could do it.
Mhm.
You know, right now the gas station's on the front of it. We'd probably demise that gas station or pull that out, or some of it at least, and use it for storage. We have some plans, to be honest with you, on remodeling it and redoing it in that way.
Okay.
But it would definitely, it would be a small little, like a Scooter's Coffee, I'd say.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should say the brand, but I just say that brand because they have a 600 square foot building.
Yeah.
So it'd be just something like that, if that's where, if we left the building how it sits today.
Okay. And what Mr. Linwood and Mr. Weck had talked about, more brick on the front side of it, would that cause Dairy Queen to be like, we can't do that, that this is the final on this? Okay.
It would be, yes.
Okay. All right. I'm in favor of this what you presented tonight. Brand standard is huge. I think coming from, what was it before? We're at 52 now?
Yeah.
50, what, 52, 54?
52.
And before it was what?
44.
44? So you were able to come up with some other things to kind of help with that number. So I appreciate that. I am for this. I think it looks great. We've worked a really long time to start getting that corner looking nice, right? And being proud of that because it's right off the freeway. You are still planning to do a double drive-through?
Yeah, so this has a pay window, pickup window, and a pull ahead window, so this actually has 3 windows.
Okay, fabulous. All right, Member Luger, questions, comments?
No questions.
Okay. Do you have a preference on which design?
I mean, we're looking at a discrepancy of how much?
10%?
10%.
Is it 10%? Quick math, okay, 15? 13?
And I understand that, you know, the purpose of having codes and having standards. I also understand branding as well. I think this is a nice compromise. I don't have a problem with it.
Thank you. Member Schilling? Speak in Wyoming and not in West St. Paul speak.
If it was West St. Paul, we wouldn't be talking a second time, but I deal with this all day in my job as well. It's a tough thing. It's one that I see both sides of the fence all the time, and I've started to see it more and more frequently, these discussions happening in communities just because of branding and changing. One of the things that I sometimes don't understand it, I understand it, but when we put certain restrictions on things, it can overcomplicate branding, and it discourages growth. Two things. I mean, I like the way it is now, I was fine with this, but we do have a discrepancy of 13%, and if we move forward with this, we're, you know, setting a precedence that we're not technically following our own code or guideline. But my concern with it is I think we should revisit these requirements, because this is the third time that we've ran into it as I've been on the council.
Yeah.
And it's literally over a couple of digits of product. And I don't like that. I think there's gotta be an easier way for us to, and this is more towards you, but there's gotta be an easier way for us to decide what facade should be on a building. I mean, all of these products are good quality products in my mind, but we label them in the planning ordinance or the zoning ordinance the way that we do, so. I do like it, I'm not gonna say I don't, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. So I'm fine with it moving through, but I just think it's gonna set us up for problems in the future. So I think, in my opinion, I think this is something that we should visit in our code, because it has come up 3 times. And all 3 times it was very petty, and it was a small amount, because we're supposed to follow what our ordinance states. So.
Mr. Linwood, correct me if I'm wrong, as I've listened in on all the planning commission meetings, because I'm not the liaison, but I'm listening in, I do believe that this ordinance is coming up. I mean, for us to look at, right? Am I correct on that?
The Planning Commission, as part of their 2022 goals, it was to review the architectural standards
Okay.
Within the ordinance. I think they've been pretty, as we had that work session, pretty comp plan
Yeah.
focused, but I would, certainly I would think that we could bring this up to them, or if council wants to make direction to have them look at this. I think as soon as that comprehensive plan is done, I think this would maybe be a task that they'd be looking at. It was on their to-do list this year. I think the comp plan has gone on probably a little longer than anticipated.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think this is, like I said, this is on their to-do list. And if it's not done this year, I would certainly think that would continue on in '23.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Let's have Member Yeager have any questions or comments, and then we'll do this, and then I'll ask if we want to make sure we direct Planning Commission to do a review. So, Member Yeager?
Okay, are Wyoming's architectural standards any more restrictive than in other cities where there are Dairy Queens, next generation Dairy Queens?
For myself or the applicant, I'm sorry?
Both.
Both, okay.
Whoever has the answer.
I don't think so. I think I don't believe so. I think based on the architectural standard updates that were done 5 years ago, I think we tried to be thoughtful in regards to make sure that we had, that we weren't completely out of bounds one way or another in regards to our standards comparative to other cities, in our area or within our size. So I think there was thoughtfulness put in there. Maybe the gentleman here tonight will say they think ours are more strict than others. I'm not completely sure on that, but I don't think that was the intent. I think it was to be somewhat in line with what we were seeing out there. Obviously, you have communities that are always going to have might have certain brand standards comparative to ours, where I don't think we necessarily have it. It's just trying to have something that's that we try to have city new buildings coming in look nice.
And it varies by city. We just built one this spring. We opened in Laconia, and you could do 100% EFS, so there was no stone requirements there. So it just depends on the city. There's one that I can think of in Tennessee that we were going to build, but they wouldn't budge on it. It was 100%, and Dairy Queen just wouldn't approve it. So it depends on the city and
Okay.
which ones for requirements.
So there could be other Dairy Queens with upgraded exterior materials when required. For example, if you go to Alexandria, Virginia, there is McDonald's that is the most beautiful McDonald's you'll ever see because of their architectural standards. So it sounds like a possibility. When we, on the middle choice about front building elevations, isn't all of that building basically the front? Because it's seen by, at least on 3 sides.
Sure. I think understood the point. It is obviously visible at many different directions. I think the point of Kim Lindquist, our planner, and I think Mr. Weck was for the front elevations, they would consider the front elevation. So that'd be the picture there in the upper left hand. So that was what they had determined that would be
Okay.
that front-facing component.
So then would the other three sides of the building meet our architectural standards?
They would not. They would still be that combined that 52%. So that was just one option presented to the council in regarding a potential maybe to ask the applicant or an option. So
Okay.
Go ahead. When she's done.
I'll let her.
Yeah, when she's done.
But I'm all in favor of directing the planning commission to revisit our architectural standards. But in this case, I know at least one other business who has just had kittens over having to meet the architectural standards. They're a small local business. They don't have the money that Dairy Queen has behind them to mess around with meeting standards and whatnot. And if we take such a visible building and do not require them to meet standards, how do we look the other businesses who sweated, paid more than they had to meet the standards, how do we look them in the eye afterwards? Because it seems that if you're a big guy, a big corporate guy, you're kind of getting a little special treatment as opposed to our building, a lot of our other businesses. And I do share Councilman Schilling's concern about setting precedent. So to get around precedent, I would say direct the Planning Commission to revise our standards.
We have already went around precedents twice, so it's already set.
That's fine.
So it's already set. Mr. Schilling, Member Schilling, sorry.
It's a couple of things, because I'm just looking at the overall design. I mean, even in the front face, and I'm looking at this, you would have to lose almost 800 square feet to class 1 material. The only way to do that is get rid of all the gray above it. So I'm not going to get into what we need to do and not do, but I will say this: you got not even slightly enough windows if you were in the town that I work in. So, and we'd make you put all kinds of fake ones up, which is again very expensive. But and as far as my thought on these numbers, I think there has to be a plus minus in there. Because of this reason, because we're going to have other businesses that are going to rebrand at some point. Somebody's going to want to upgrade. Materials change as the years change. Because I thought, well, have it run through a variance. Well, what's the hardship? And in this case, in my opinion, the hardship is corporate says we're not going to redo it, and we're not going to put this big, beautiful building in your community if you don't let us do that. So to me, that is a hardship in a way. But I just think it needs to go back to Planning Commission. I've felt that way from the beginning. I just think we need plus minuses. We're close. You're looking at a 7 by 10 strip is what we're under. So, I mean, it's very hard to argue that little quantity of material for me.
What is first class? Can you explain? Brick is one. What else is there?
Class 1 materials. I apologize. I have to bring up the ordinance. Let me
Do you
see
know
if I
what
have it listed.
Basically, everything you have listed on the top 4 plus brick.
And the Apollo, the red,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
So Apollo's like a metal material.
Okay, so that's a class 1, considered class 1. And then, so is that metal to the right,
Yeah.
what we're looking at?
Yes, the metal on the top.
Okay, is class 1.
Is class 1,
Mhm.
and then the brick, and then the Apollo.
And do you normally do brick, or is that something that corporate said, it's because there's this ordinance, we're gonna do
That
that?
was the compromise that corporate would give. Yeah.
Okay.
And, because normally it'd be EFS all the way to.
Yep. And that's,
Okay,
I've never understood why EFS isn't a higher class in our zoning, because I think it's a fantastic product.
okay.
And you have a large array of colors and style that you can do, and again, it is what it is, so.
Mr. Lunan, I'm gonna need help with this one. So, when I call for this approval, do I first call for it as presented? Do I call, and then see what the vote is, or how do I go about the resolution?
Well, I think you have 3 different resolutions on the table.
Yeah.
That to consider. I mean, I think one just has to be made, whether it's gonna be approved or not. You
Okay.
You don't need to do
Each one and vote on it?
No.
Okay,
If you pass the one, you don't need to,
okay, so
you-
all,
You need to select either, there's an A, there's two A's, and there's two B's. There's an
which is
A-
this?
So that, as presented.
Yep.
By the 14 foods, that would be resolution A for both the site plan and the conditional use permit. That would be the resolution labeled A for 75 and 76. The B was the one stating the front face of the building to move that standards up to our ordinance. If you do nothing, that would be how it was passed last time, saying they need to meet the 65% of our type 1 materials or class
Okay.
1 materials.
so if one is moved and it doesn't pass, you could make another motion, but as Administrator Linwood said, if you guys don't do anything, you have
Yeah.
already made an
Yeah.
approval that would be on the table.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a resolution, or I'm gonna make a motion for resolution 220975, as presented tonight. So A, approving the site plan review application to demolish the existing and construction of a new Dairy Queen restaurant, property 21-00020, so as presented in resolution A. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by member Luger. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
It has passed, right, with this one? We're correct. Okay, that has passed. Now, the last thing we need to do is, are we in agreement that this ordinance needs to be looked at in planning?
You would need to, I'm sorry, that would be, the resolution you just passed was for the site plan.
Oh.
Then you would also need to do the conditional use permit, so that would be 70, if council so inclined, that would be 76A, if you wanted
Okay.
to stay in the same one as before.
Okay, so can we do do you want me to do this one right now then? Okay.
Do the resolutions and do the planning commission direction last.
Okay, so then, I move to approve, resolution 220976A, a resolution approving a conditional use permit for the increased impervious surface area in the Shoreline District at 5111 East Viking Boulevard, property ID 21.00020. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by member Schilling, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Approved. So we're good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And demolish is gonna start,
Oh, yeah, I actually had that question.
yeah, when's that gonna start? When are you,
Oh, so now we have to go get permits. We were hoping to start last week or
Yeah.
before.
Okay.
I'm worried about winter conditions. We have bids all in. They actually
Yep.
came in a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
We have all that. It's either, if we can get it, permits done potentially this year yet,
Mhm.
we would start. If we can get mobilized and do everything and be ready to hit by October 1st, we'd still do it. If not, we would do it next year.
Okay.
Beginning of September.
okay, and is the restaurant closed now?
It is not.
It is not, still open, good deal,
Yeah.
okay.
So
All
it'll be
right.
open for the rest of the year. If,
Okay.
And pushing to get mobilization and all that is gonna be
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah,
And then we'll run into winter conditions, so most likely it'll be September, right after Labor Day next year.
Okay.
That we'd start.
okay, perfect, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And what we still need to do is, if we're in agreement, to direct planning or staff, planning commission to take a look at this ordinance and see how we can improve it. I don't know if that's the right word for it.
Revise it.
Revise, there we go,
Revise the
revise.
ordinance.
Yeah, we've
Revise
run
a
into
good
this a
word.
couple of times. so
Okay.
it's
Revise the ordinance
frustrating.
to modernize it.
Okay, all right, is that, okay? Fabulous, okay, all right. Thank you for being here, you don't have to stay for the whole rest of the meeting. We won't. All right, you're welcome. All right, number 16, to consider resolution 220977, a resolution approving a preliminary tax levy for 2023 and setting a public hearing for the truth and taxation at the December 6, 2022 Wyoming City Council. Mr. Linwood?
Mayor, members of council, tonight you are presented with the preliminary levy for the 2023 tax levy. Tonight, we do have Jesse Sturts with us online, and then Carrie, I apologize right now, we have Carrie Thorsten, thank you, from Abdock and Myers with us here in person. So I think, I believe Ms. Sturts, are you going to start us with a presentation tonight?
Yes, I am. Rob, you guys have to make me the host so I can share my screen.
You should be good now.
Okay. All right, so I will get my screen shared and I will start my presentation. Wait, can you see my slideshow?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Tonight, we're going to adopt the preliminary levy for the 2023 budget. You guys should have a copy of my memo in your packet, and the slides should follow along with the slides here, or the memo should follow along with the slides. So for tonight's agenda, we're going to discuss the tax levies, and we're going to discuss the general fund revenue and expenditure review. All right. On this slide, it shows a tax levy for 2023. As you can see, we're proposing an overall tax levy of 9.71%, which is an increase of $466,238. 6.62% is from the general levy, and that's $228,979. The capital levy is increasing $255,729, or 63.93%. And overall, the debt levy will be going down $18,170. That's a negative 0.14 or 94%. So overall, a little bit further on the slide, you'll see that the tax capacity is actually going up to 13 million this year, and that's an increase of 22.68%. And with our proposed tax levy of 9.71, this will in turn decrease the city tax rate to 40.21%, or a negative 4.75%. On this slide, you can see the impact of the taxes on the different market values of the residential properties. Because of your tax rate going down, property taxes will go down as well. So most properties will likely not experience a decrease in their city tax. However, due to the significant changes in the residential markets, I'll show you the next slide. So if no market values have changed, this would be the example of the residents' property taxes. So $100,000 house would go down $34. $200,000 house would go down $86. $300,000 house would go down $138,000. $400,000 would go down $189, and a commercial building of $500,000 would go down $439. Overall, the county is seeing an increase of the residential market values of about 21.2%. So this slide gives us more accurate values estimated with their property increases. So if we do the 9.71 increase with a 21% or 21% market value increase, the residents' actual taxes would go up $27 for $100,000. $200,000 house would go up $68. $300,000 house would go up $109. $400,000 would go up $150, and a $500,000 commercial property would go up $189. On this slide shows the tax levy broken out by the different levies. So for 2023, the dark blue is the general levy. The debt service is the light blue. The capital improvement levy is the red. The street fund levy is the orange, and there's a little sliver at the top is the actual EDA loan. It's the purple. So this shows it broken down per section. All right, the next year's slides show the tax capacity impact on the tax rate. So if the city keeps the tax dollars flat, the tax rate will decrease by 8.31%. So as everybody knows, as the tax capacity increases, levy dollars, or the city can increase levy dollars without a direct tax rate increase. So in this example, the city is able to keep a flat tax levy, as residents will see a decrease in the tax rate. In this one, if the city keeps a flat tax rate of the 44.96, the levy dollars will increase by $1 million or 22.68%. In this example, the city is able to collect an additional $1,088,592 without having to increase the city tax rate. And on this slide, this is what we're actually proposing. So as you can see, the city tax rate is going down to 40.21. And in this example, the levy dollars are going up $466,238 or 9.71%. And the tax rate will decrease by 4.75. Because the city tax rate has increased, we are able to levy more dollars with having a lower tax rate. So next we'll go through detail of the revenue and expenditures. So here's a snippet of the revenues. Pretty much everything has stayed the same for this year. I will point out for the property taxes. So what's included in this is actually what you guys levy. So if the property or the general fund increase of $228,679, this increase is actually to offset the increases in expenses and decreases in the other revenues. So this number fluctuates depending on what the revenues and expenses are doing. On this slide is a breakdown of the expenditures. So I want to draw attention just to the few larger items on the bottom there. So overall, we did a 25% increase across all departments for fuel, and that's due to the rising cost. I think we started out a little higher than that, but since we've been seeing them go down, Rob and I bumped it about 25%, so that's pretty fair, we think. In the city clerk office, that is increased due to wages and benefits due to COLA raises and step increases. There's an increase in workers' comp and property liability insurance premiums. And there's an increase in contracted services and utilities. The elections is going down because there's no elections for 2023. In the police department, overall it's going down because we separated the fire and police, but the increases in the police department are the increases in wages and benefits due to COLA and step increases. We have included the part-time community service officer in here just as part-time instead of full-time, so we dropped that to part-time. There's an increase in workers' comp and property liability insurance premiums. There's an increase in operating supplies and an increase in contracted services. And again, it shows an overall decrease because of us splitting the fire and police budget out for 2023. And fire department shows a huge increase, and that's again because we separated them out. So overall, it only went up $100,000 between the two of them. Building inspections, there's an increase in training and instructions, travel expenses, and dues and subscriptions. And the parks increased in part-time employees, contracted services, and satellite rental. And at the end of the memo, you guys will see a line-by-line item of revenues and expenses. If you want to go over any of those line items, we most certainly can do that at the end. So here is a breakdown of all of the different departments, and I'll point out just the first top three. The police department is at 40.7, that is the dark blue area. The highway, streets, and roads is at 19.7, that is the purple area. And the city clerk office is 11.6%, and that is the light green portion at the top there. So that's all I have right now. So I'm gonna stop sharing. And basically we are looking for approval of the resolution 22.09-77, approving the tax levy for this year.
Jesse, this is Mayor Iverson. I have several questions.
Yep.
First one would be, and maybe this is to Rob, the EDA loan. We don't still.
EDA levy, I think it was.
The levy, okay, not a loan.
EDA levy, I'm sorry.
No,
EDA levy.
that's
Sorry
okay. I
about
just
that.
wanted to be clear on that. I would like to be clear on, I think what happens is when people get their tax bill, they automatically think that the city raised everything when in fact the county has increased their property taxes, right? Or their value of their house, the evaluation. So I want us to, I'm hoping that our residents can understand that the evaluation of their home is not because of city or city council, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And then I'm curious as to, last time we had talked about the CSO officer not being in here whatsoever. Had we figured out what what our levy would be without that part-time person in here as well? Do we know what that would be?
Yes, Rob and I figured that out, and if without the CSO position, it would be 8.93%.
So that would be,
It would be,
I'm just curious on what that would be for the amount that the residents would see, if they would see a decrease even after the county did their 21% evaluation.
They would, in the example I have in front of me, with the 8.93%, the residential properties would increase for a $100,000 property, $25. A $200,000 property would increase $62. A $300,000 property would increase $99. 400,000 would be 137, and then the commercial of $500,000 would increase about $171. And that is based on the estimated market value increase of the 21.2%.
Okay.
So that's all estimated by the county.
Yep. Okay.
So
Got it.
we got those numbers right from the county at the increase of the 21.2%.
Okay. Thank you. Chief
Yeah.
Bauer, can I ask you a couple questions?
Sure.
So I understand where you were going with retention and recruitment. I get that. How does a part-time position help? Because it's not full-time and there's no car. What would that CSO officer be doing? And correct me if I'm wrong, because I tried to go, I couldn't find the tape of it. One of the things you said, if I heard correctly, that they would also be taking the squad cars to get washed, right? Some of those type of tasks?
They would be shuttling for service, not washes.
Okay.
Service, so going to North Branch, Ford, and those type of locations that we would, when we're shuttling vehicles for service.
Okay, and if this position doesn't have a car, how do you foresee that, one, it will help with retention, and two, that is the intent of what that position really is and what they would be doing if they don't have a car?
Well, we would have to get creative with our fleet, honestly. We may have to extend the life of one of them that we currently have longer at that point. This is a balance. We're already running, we have one vehicle that's a 2021. We've had it in service for a year. It has 50,000 miles on it. So we are in a balance of how do we cycle these vehicles out before we run into problems with them.
Yeah.
But we do have the fire chief's vehicle in the whole matrix of moving vehicles in and out. Is slated to be rotated next year. It only has 40,000 miles on it. That vehicle we could extend the life of for this position to retain, to have that vehicle maintained in the fleet.
Okay, so it sounds to me having a full-time with a car is way easier and goes to your extent of what you're looking for, right, for that retention. With having a part-time person, to me, that sounds like a lot more juggling at that time, a lot of juggling to try to figure it out. And do you have people that you think would work part-time, that would want to work part-time?
It's a compromise. The reason I initially was requesting a full-time position is because that's not very common. And we have to be creative about how we're going to get people in a pathway into becoming police officers here. That was something that isn't being done real often. It would allow us to bring somebody in to get them in a benefited position while they attend school. This position most frequently is a part-time position. It's a 24-hour, give or take, here and there, position that it's not benefited. You're targeting a 19, 20-year-old college student that can still maintain benefits on their parents' insurance, and they can attend school. this is a way we can still do what other departments are doing. This is a common practice. It's not as unique, and doesn't get us necessarily some of the people that I was hoping to target, but it does afford us that ability to do that.
All right, those are all my questions. Member Yeager.
No questions. I think the levy increase is a little too high. I'm afraid of people being able to afford it.
Okay, Member Schilling. Do you want me to come back?
Yeah,
Oh,
please.
okay. Member Luger?
Are we, and I looked really quick at the city calendar from here through November. Are we meeting on this again before the truth and taxation hearing?
Absolutely. You will have other opportunities. I can pull a calendar up really quickly here. I apologize.
And to clarify, when this is if and when this is approved, all this does, just for anybody listening, is say that we're not going over this.
Correct.
But we still have that cushion, that leeway to do some more creative number crunching and brainstorm on it, correct?
You're correct. This is by state statute. By September 30th, we need to send a preliminary levy or a do not exceed levy to the county auditor. And that's what that, you are completely correct, Councilmember Luger, that this would be, we cannot, once we pass this, we cannot exceed that amount, but certainly we can still go down on this number, correct?
Okay.
We will have other opportunities to meet. I believe our next council work session would be on November 9th, would be our next council work session in regards for our budget calendar that the council approves at the beginning of the year. So, and if necessary, obviously, council has an opportunity after that meeting, if they'd like to have another session, we can certainly do that too.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Linwood, kind of to that same point, when we send it, however we vote with this, we send it to the county. The county, though, sends something by the end of the year, which is a preliminary on it, right? If I remember correctly.
Correct. You are correct. Along with the preliminary levy that we send, we also
Yeah.
have to set our truth and taxation hearing, and then the county will send those notifications out along with that preliminary levy amount for both. It's like your normal tax statement. It's going to include your county taxes, your city taxes, your school district, your watersheds, other special taxing agencies. So.
Okay, so it's only preliminary. I think that
That
is
is
one of those
correct. No,
things
it would
where,
be, right. What individuals receive in the mail isn't
Yeah.
necessarily what is going to be the final. Like last year, our council started with a preliminary levy, and that obviously came down from where we adopted our final levy.
Okay, thank you. Member Schilling?
I'm just gonna leave it as no questions at this time.
Okay. All right. Let me get my agenda here. Make sure I'm voting on the right stuff, because I have a lot of things here.
Not to exceed resolution.
What's that?
Said not to exceed tax levy resolution. 16.
Okay, number 16. All right, so a resolution 220977, a resolution approving a preliminary tax levy for 2023 and setting a public hearing for the truth and taxation at the December 6, 2022 Wyoming City Council meeting. So we do need a motion to approve the preliminary tax levy.
So moved.
We have a motion by Member Schilling. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Member Luker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. So we're at a tie. Yes. What do you want to do with that? Because it has to go. Do you want me to?
Well, we would, at this point, since we only have 4 council
Four.
members here, we could bring it back to our September 20th meeting, I guess, for
Or
another
can I
review.
just change my vote? Can I reread it and change it?
The motion could be made again, yeah, you could change your vote, but
Okay.
otherwise we have until the end of the month to set it. So you can do the motion again, or we can just
Yeah,
reconsider.
let's just not give everybody a heart attack. Let's I'll redo it. So, second time around. To consider resolution 220977, a resolution approving a preliminary tax levy for 2023 and setting a public hearing for the truth and taxation at December 6th, 2022 Wyoming City Council meeting. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
So passes. But I do want this brought back up again, right? We have to bring this back up because it's preliminary,
Yeah.
right?
Right, preliminary, we'll still have other work sessions, right, for, in regards to the budget, we'll still have work sessions on our calendar, correct?
Okay, perfect, thank you.
One.
Yes, what, one? One work session?
One more, that's it.
All right. Number 17. Consider resolution, oh, thanks, Jesse, by the way.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good
All
night,
right, have a
guys.
good night. All right, 17, to consider resolution 220978, a resolution approving the purchase and installation of water meters from Ferguson Waterworks in the amount of $443,905. Mr. Linwood?
I believe Mr. Almgeld's gonna start with this, so I'll
Mr.
certainly
Almgeld?
be
Oh.
available for questions as well.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me, City Council members. This request is very similar to the report that we went over at the budget work session. As you know, we purchased a fixed AMI network with the COVID dollars. As the pandemic went on, we stopped installing meters as we didn't want to enter residents' houses with the guidelines we had set. The last meter change out was in 2005. The average of a water meter is 20 years, and so we're at 17 years of age and have started to lose compensation from the water meters reading slower. The new meters will provide instant readings at City Hall. This would save staff time, as there would be minimum meter reading quarterly and with home sales from the Public Works staff. The new meters also provide 96 days of stored history for questionable meter readings. Reverse flows, tampering, and red flags are also available on new water meters. You can set the red flags and stuff if there's like leaks and stuff on the meters. The improved quality and service and billing accuracy with the detailed compensation, I believe, are the two most important values of the new meters. The estimate we see from Ferguson for the complete replacement of all the remaining meters is $443,905. Ferguson provides all the service from setting up the appointments, installation of the meters, and getting everything installed into BSNA for Jenny. The cost savings shows an approximate 6-year payback from the water usage captured with the new meters and staff time reading meters. We are proposing the city move forward with the replacement of the remaining water meters in 2022, utilizing 250 from the 601 water reserves, 150,000 from ARPA funds, and the remaining balance from the budgeted CIP that was set aside for 2022 from the water fund. And with that, I can take any questions.
Mr. Almgeld, I have two. One, how do they recycle these? Do you know, like,
Public Works we do that now.
okay,
We break them down and we take the brass in. I think the last load we took in, we had $7,000 worth of brass. We put
Wow.
it back in the general fund.
wow, that's pretty cool. Okay, and then what, if I heard you correctly, the return on investment on this in 6 years is getting 443,000 roughly money back?
Correct.
Because of its capturing what we're losing, correct?
Right, and the meter readings.
And how long are these good for?
20 years is expected life.
Okay, so the return on the investment after that 6 years, I mean, it will just keep increasing, am I thinking that correctly? Okay, all right, those are my only questions. Member Schilling?
Not really any questions, but have we ever discussed the monthly billing instead of the quarterly for our water?
I could,
Will this make it easier, is I guess my
you could
biggest
do the
question.
monthly billing, but the administrative time for sending out the bills and stuff, it wouldn't be of great value to do it. But if we ever went paperless billing, then you're gonna see you could
Okay.
do it.
Yeah, we could give council, we had done some initial analysis of that in regards to just some of the staff time, and then also regards to just the postage for the large number that we have to send out in the mail. Those costs, they're fairly significant. So, but we can certainly, if council is interested, we could share some of those numbers, but I think the costs probably outweigh even though I know that people prefer a monthly bill, but it is significant, and then it's kind of a constant rotating of in and out, and we do only have one utility billing clerk, so it'd be challenging.
But, so, my question to follow up, can I answer?
Yeah,
ask
go
a
ahead,
follow-up
go
to
ahead.
that? So, with our population getting quote-unquote younger from our census, most of the younger families prefer 1 monthly billing and 2 online. So the city would have to do a push on signing up, because right now they haven't signed up for that, right? Is what you're saying, the automatic payment?
When we changed over to BSNA and Invoice Cloud, we did do pushes to try to get people, it's in our benefit, obviously not to have to send paper out to people,
Yeah.
but we still have a significant portion on our metered population still are not paying ACH or not paying
Yeah.
online or not, signing up to get text reminders. But certainly we can continue to do those pushes. But right now, with the amount of mail, it is significant, the amount that we still have on just the mail system that come in and pay that way or send in the mail, et cetera.
I just wonder how we can do a push, and just if we get to a certain threshold.
It would be beneficial. I mean, it's cheaper for us, obviously, not to have to do all the printing, all
Yeah.
the stuffing. We have, we lease an envelope stuffer, otherwise it would be
Yeah.
a mammoth exercise. So it is just quarterly right now. It's a lot.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, everybody always asks,
Yeah,
can it be
well, and
monthly?
I know that
So-
it costs more money, I guess. It's just, I've had a lot of people
lot
ask
of
me
people
about
ask.
that one particular thing.
Yeah,
If you got to that threshold, would you force people to do it electronically?
That'd
Because
be
what
a-
if you have somebody who still wants to have paper?
Be a council decision, I guess, at that point. I guess we could look at thresholds, but at the end of the day, you guys are the policymakers, so you'd have to determine what you'd want to do with it, if you wanted to go completely electronic or leave some ability to still use
Because-
paper. We still have both, significant amounts.
Because I just get concerned when I hear about how young we all are. It gets to the point, once you get past a certain age, should you just move out of Wyoming?
I never said that. So that is not
I was gonna
anything
say,
that
let's
I
not
said.
knock
That
on
was
some
not, no, that was not what I was saying.
Kind of, the impression one could get.
Well, that might be your impression, but it's definitely not what I'm trying to get at. I'm just saying that if it saves the city money, if it saves us money, there can always be some people who stay on it. I get seniors, I get people who would rather have it come to them, I understand that. But if there's a way that we can have the majority and we're only sending out 10 or 20, then we're saving money. And I think as we go through budget, we all want to find a way to save money. So that's the only reason, I don't think anybody needs to move out, and I'm sorry if that gave you that impression. Member Schilling?
Well, I was gonna say, I went through a very similar situation. We went to online. Traditionally, everything was walk-in, customer service, paper. I'm over 58% now online, so we're not even seeing these folks anymore. They apply, they pay, they do everything, we email, and that saves us a tremendous amount of staff time. So I know it's definitely doable, but it would take a pretty massive, in my mind, PR campaign to get people on board. You're gonna have the certain people, that's why in my office, I still have a computer that we have to do for them because they refuse. I don't touch a computer.
Yep.
And it's funny because I get 1 or 2 a month that do that. And
Yeah.
I don't know how to write. I can't, I'm not doing any of those things for you. I'm not even going to fill the application out. Do it for me. Really?
Yeah.
So
No, I understand
we'll
that.
always get that pushback on technology. It's a fact.
Of course.
But it does make things easier and more efficient, in my opinion. So.
Yep. So, all right. Sorry, Claire, your turn. Sorry.
Nope, all my questions have been answered.
All right, let's see. Let's go back to the resolution. Resolution 220978, a resolution approving the purchase and installation of water meters from Ferguson Waterworks in the amount of $443,905. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Member Luger. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Schilling. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 18, to consider Resolution 220979, a resolution urging the Governor of Minnesota and state lawmakers to hold a special session to pass a bonding bill and tax bill. Mr. Linwood?
Yes. Mayor, members of council, this is a resolution that's been going around both the League of Minnesota Cities and the greater coalition of Minnesota cities. Due to the, I guess, no action of both the governor and the lawmakers in regards for having a special session this year, we are one of the cities that is impacted significantly by this, mainly due to the loss of a portion of our LGA. There was an agreement in place for 2021 that was supposed to be extended to 2022, which have allowed us to stay at our current rate of LGA. There's other legislation to try to increase that LGA, but obviously neither of those are going to happen right now without the happening of a special session. And from 2022 to 2023, we'll lose actually $46,622 of LGA due to the inaction of the legislature. Secondly, we did have funding request in for construction of a public safety building. Without that adoption of the bonding bill, we have no chance of receiving any funds for that project. So this resolution is just urging the governor and the lawmakers to please move forward with a bipartisan way of getting a session done and passing a bonding bill and tax bill for 2022. So we have supplied a resolution for the council's review on this topic.
Mr. Linwood, I know a lot of other entities and cities are sending this out as well. If we wanted to, as individual members of a body, can we also just really request individually that they respectfully hold a special session?
I think as an appointed elected official, you can certainly reach out to your legislators. Right?
Okay. All right. Member Lugar, any questions?
No, I absolutely support this.
Okay. Member
1,000%.
Support it as well.
Okay. Member Yeager.
No, it's fine.
Okay. All right. So I will approve Resolution 220979, a resolution urging the governor of Minnesota and the state lawmakers to hold a special session to pass a bonding bill and a tax bill. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Lugar. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 19, to consider entering a closed session under Minnesota State Statute 13D-05, Sub D3A for an annual performance evaluation of City Administrator Rob Linwood. Mr. Lunan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. Before we proceed with the evaluation, if we choose to do so, I do want to note that in reviewing the minutes from the last meeting, we had tabled this, and the specific language of the motion tabling it was to table the annual performance evaluation of Administrator Rob Linwood to a future meeting when all council members can be present. Obviously, Councilmember Onset isn't here today. So the council can proceed. I just would like a motion from the council to do that. Otherwise, we can, I know, we're now a month behind or a meeting behind. We could table it until all council members will be here. I will note, I informed Administrator Linwood, I'm going to have a conflict at the next meeting. There will be another attorney from my office here. They will be competent to conduct the evaluation. I don't need to be here. It's not my evaluation. I just help facilitate it. Someone else can do that. So ultimately, it's up to the council if we just want to proceed with it this evening. But based on the table motion from the last meeting, we were looking for all council members to be present. So
Okay.
ultimately, it's how the council wants to proceed.
So
Okay.
was this my fault last time?
Yeah, it was, but that's okay. So
No,
this
it's
is
her
what.
It was
fault.
mine.
Oh, were you gone?
I was
or
gone.
you were gone?
No,
You're
I didn't-
never
This
gone.
was
Are you
not on
sure?
the agenda.
This is like the
when
first
I
time
was
in
gone.
it.
I
How
know
many
you
years I was gone?
were
Sorry.
gone. So you know what?
We talked about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna make a motion to move to go ahead to do it tonight, based on budget reasons. Just we need to.
Well,
so,
isn't there a deadline? I'm sorry to interrupt. Isn't
Yeah.
there like a
Well,
due
the
date on
contractual,
this?
the contractual requirement in Administrator Linwood's contract is that we do it in the month of August.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we have extended it, and in previous years we've done it later. Administrator Linwood, if you want to ask him, he said he's fine with whatever the council chooses to proceed to do. But yeah, ultimately, that's the determination of the council. I think if we were to proceed forward, I would recommend maybe you wrap up the meeting, so then we can just do this as the final item.
Yeah.
With your reports and everything.
Yeah.
And then close it out. So
okay, my only other question: did everybody get in their
I have all of them here.
evaluation?
I'm
So-
prepared to proceed if the council so chooses.
Okay, all right. So I will make the motion to go ahead tonight with the performance evaluation of City Administrator Rob Linwood. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Member Schilling. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, we'll do that. So what we need to do right now is to take a 5-minute recess.
Do you want to do
Do you want to do council?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, council
reports and-
reports, yes, yeah, okay. Member Luker?
I attended the city budget meeting, as well as the all boards meeting last week, as well as Stump Out Suicide. That's all I have.
Thank you. Member Schilling?
I have no report, thanks to the ones that were here and people watching.
Okay, and Member Yeager?
Oh, I attended the budget work session, I attended the old boards meeting, and last week I even got a tour of the new county jail.
Nice.
So, thank you all for watching, and thank you for everybody who came.
All right, I attended the all boards meeting, the budget meeting, and was also very happy to participate in the Stump Out Suicide, which had approximately 1,500 people and raised almost $100,000. So it was a great event, thanks to all council that came out. And the only other thing, I don't know if I can do this or not, so you might have to tell me no. Stagecoach Days is coming up, and I'm wondering who would like to walk in the Stagecoach Days in the parade. I'm in,
I'll do it.
okay?
Yeah, I may be in.
You may be here.
Yeah, because my, well, family was coming into town, now it moved a week later, so I think we're good.
Okay.
Are we
Linda?
allowed to do that, or do we have to be separate?
If we notice it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Notice there's a quorum.
This time.
It's an event, yeah.
Yeah. Linda?
I'll have to check.
Okay. Well, we need to know, I need to register us, so can you let Rob know?
So-
Yeah, I can check,
What's that?
I'll check.
Okay.
What date is it again?
So 17th.
Okay, that's the one I thought, okay.
Okay. So you'll notice that then, Rob? Just,
Yeah.
okay, fabulous.
We may already have it noticed, and I may go double check.
Okay, so Linda, if you could let us know as soon as possible, that'd be great. Otherwise, that's it. I move to, I can't move to adjourn, just to recess for
5-minute recess.
5 minutes, and then we'll come back, so.
Okay.
All right.